All right, Matt, we're back. Season 4, episode 2. Had some technical difficulties. Hopefully, figured it out. Um,
This is the worst technical difficulties we have had ever,
yeah, shout out to our
ever.
Hawaii
Shout
internet
out to
providers,
my
I guess. I don't know.
I have Spectrum internet, so shout
Yeah,
out
I don't
Spectrum.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's internet or hardware, whatever. We're just gonna get this thing on the road. Take this is essentially take two. So I said in the first take, season one NFL in the books now. I somehow predicted correctly 15 out of the 16 winners. Of course, I do that after I come back from Vegas. I don't like have the chance to put in any. Well, I guess I could have put in bets. I just chose not to because I was getting hammered in baseball when I was gone. So I chose not to do that. Right. So yeah, missed last week. We're back again for this week. Um, we will be diving into our typical Cowboys Dolphins stuff, a bunch of the NFL teams and topics in this one. So without further ado, I just want to get Matt's word in. Hopefully his connection sustains for this video. So Matt, Cowboys get the week one win. I was surprised they were underdogs, I'm not gonna lie, but I know you've been itching to talk about the Cowboys for months and months now. Finally get the chance to do so. So why don't you go ahead while your internet is holding up? How are you feeling after week one?
Considering, all the distractions that have gone on in the past 1 hour of this podcast, technically, even though it's been 30 minutes of recording, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I gotta wear this shirt. Shout out to the highest paid player in the NFL, Dak Prescott. 4 year, $240 million contract signed, I guess, officially today, but it was confirmed a couple hours before kickoff. And I think that was a huge part, maybe not a huge part, a part of why we started off 1-0. I just think the vibes in the locker room were high. Everybody is on board with Dak as the franchise guy, from the players to the coaches to even the front office with the Jones family, right? So just having that burst, that extra jolt to go into the game, I think, emotion is a huge part of football. And that's a huge part, I think, of why, we were able to start pretty fast, I would say, for the most part. Minus the first drive, I would say it was all smooth sailing. I wasn't really expecting anything in this game, really, because of the narrative coming into the season. We don't know what we have with this team. There's a lot of rookies, a lot of new players, a new defensive scheme and coordinator. So there's just a lot of unknowns that just need to be answered by playing ball. And what I took away was, oh my goodness, Dan Quinn was great. Dan Quinn was great. He had his struggles with the run game, in that last season and especially the Green Bay game. But oh my goodness, I think it's one game, but Mike Zimmer has got these guys going pretty darn good right now on the defensive side of the ball. Um, Probably the most dominant defensive performance any team has put on in a while in terms of a half of football. The Browns had one first down in the first half. I don't think you're going to see that ever, whether it's you play the Giants or the Panthers. Like, that's not happening. To give up one first down is just ridiculous for a half of football. Um, but really, it was really the new guys that were kind of making plays that I saw. Eric Kendricks, the old veteran, he's our middle linebacker now. He looked like Fred Warner out there. I'm not gonna lie. Just for a game, he was getting sacks. He got an interception, and most importantly, I think, was the rookies on the defensive side of the ball. Kalen Carson gets the start because of Deron Bland's injury. And I don't want to say he's a lockdown corner after game one, but your first test, you got to go up against Amari Cooper one on one. and he gets held to 2 catches the entire game. Hey, that's a pretty good, win right there. I think, he showed a lot of physical, kind of more of a physical corner, I would say, more than Trayvon Diggs coming out of a college. So I like that combo. Maybe he can be like a Stephon Gilmore-esque kind of corner, hopefully. But he showed flashes. Marshawn Nealon, second round pick. I don't think he got a sack, but he was very disruptive. And probably the guy who stole the show, DeMarvion Overshawn, people might forget. I believe he was our third round pick 2 drafts ago. He gets hurt last preseason, tears the ACL, so he's done. But then he's coming back this year as, in a sense, a rookie, and I was just blown away by the speed, the ability to cover ground. I mean, there's one play that went kind of viral. He got a sack on Deshaun Watson. He just comes out shooting like a missile, makes Micah Parsons almost look slow, which is kind of crazy. But he shows speed that coming off an ACL injury, it's like, wow, how do you have that? So the defense, and then I didn't even talk about Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons. Those guys were there. They were doing their thing. So really, it was a complete team effort on the defensive side of the ball. Part of it is due to, in part, to the Browns, I guess, lackluster quarterback play. But we don't need to get into that on this podcast. But to the offensive side of the ball, I thought things were. It almost reminded me of last year, the first game with the Giants, because when your defense is playing well, sometimes you don't really need to do much. You really don't. And Dak, he didn't light up the world, less than 200 yards passing, but he was efficient. He missed a couple of throws, but it wasn't egregious, I thought. But he was a game manager today, and sometimes that's just what you got to do to win games. As long as you win games, people are going to be happy in Dallas, and that's all. That's all that matters. Is if the wins and the losses pile up as W's, you'll be okay. And Dak had to be a game manager today, and he was great. I thought he was in total control of the line of scrimmage. He was checking out, checking into runs when he needed to. And the combination of Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle looked, I don't want to say great, but encouraging. It looked encouraging, and I think it's only going to get better when Dalvin Cook eventually gets caught up to speed. I think he'll be on the roster eventually, but overall, offense looked great. And again, the rookies are shining. Tyler Guyton had to match up against Myles Garrett, probably you could say the best defensive player in the football in the NFL. Holds him to 1 sack. If you would ask me, yeah, that's the stat line. I'll take that anytime, any day against Myles Garrett. But I think a lot of credit has to be given to Mike McCarthy there. I saw a lot of chipping. I saw a lot of, help on Tyler Guyton. There wasn't too many times where he was left alone, just one-on-one, which is, I don't think you want to leave anybody with Myles Garrett one-on-one. I don't care who it is. He's just a freak. So to be able to control him, keep him in check early, get him out of rhythm, I think that was a good job by Mike McCarthy. And then Cooper Beebe, another rookie we trade down in the draft, get that pick. If you don't remember, we kind of scoop him up in the third round. Never played center in football until today, which is pretty crazy. But no pressures allowed, 30 plus rushes at him. That's, I don't want to say Travis Frederick after one game, but that's a very encouraging sign. So in a blink of an eye, Dallas kind of has their Great Wall of Dallas kind of built up again. And now Zach Martin is that old savvy veteran. And then on the left of him, he's got 3 studs in a sense, anchored by Tyler Smith, obviously. So I like what we had today. And then the special teams, Brandon Aubrey, the leg is just a cheat code. I think we saw if you get across the 50, we have a chance to score. So that is game changing, I think. And then obviously Turpin has the punter. And so overall, all sides of the ball, making an impact, playing complementary football, kind of what you want to see in the first game. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy, not gonna lie. There's a little penalties, here and there, but I guess that's Dallas, something we're gonna have to live with. It's just more about when you commit the penalties, I think. But nothing was really detrimental in the sense. We were able to overcome it, but obviously we'll clean that up going into the season as it goes on. But I'm happy because I'm just so happy that the haters are now they're saying, oh well, the Browns they're so junk now. Like, like the people were picking the Browns to win this game. They were favored. And I don't want to hear any of these, these Dan Orlovskis and whatever Shannon Sharps. It's like, oh yeah, well the Cowboys, they don't have a signature win. It's like, well, everybody was picking them to lose. Cleveland made the playoffs last year. Let's remember that. So it's not like we're playing a bum team. Now everyone's calling them a bum because we just gave them a whooping. So it's like the narrative of the Cowboys, it's just always bad. There's always a way to bash them, but I'm going to defend my team today. Sometimes I get a little emotional, but this time they don't deserve that criticism, I think. There's a quality week one win, kind of a statement, honestly. We're here. We're going to be a dangerous team. If we stay healthy, we are going to be a playoff team and we're going to be able to compete. So, it's all about moving forward now, looking forward to the Saints next week. And, hopefully we can continue that home success because that's where we're the best at home. So all is well in Dallas after week one. I've been waiting for this, just needed to get that Green Bay game out of my memory. And now at least I have this game under my belt to kind of dwell on now. So want to know, can I say that we're going to go to the Super Bowl now?
You're welcome to say whatever you feel or
Super
want.
Bowl? Oh my God. I mean, if we play like this, I mean, we're winning the Super Bowl. I'm not going to lie. If we play like this every game, I don't care. If we play the Chiefs, we can play the AFC Pro Bowlers. We're going to win the Super Bowl if you play like this. So
Okay.
all is well. All is well right now for me.
Oh, pretty short.
I will say though, the one concern I have is health. And we did take a big hit with Jake Ferguson, kind of twisted his, I don't know if it was I think it was his knee, but I thought he tore his ACL. I was like, oh my God, this is but we kind of dodged a bullet. So I think he's week to week, which is a lifesaver actually. It sounds like he's still trying to play this week, but wouldn't be surprised if he misses a game or two at least to kind of just be fully 100% ready to go. But other than Jake Ferguson's injury, I'm liking this team, and we already know Deron Bland's coming back, after his surgery in maybe 6 weeks. So hopefully after the bye week, I would think in San Fran, which would be pretty epic. Pick off Brock Purdy and take it back to the house. But hey, overall, a great week one for Dallas.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game for Dallas from what I was watching. Defense was dominant. I will say though, Matt, I mean, we're gonna get to the Browns in a little bit, but man, I mean, Sean Watson, 24 of 45 for 169 yards. I mean, just nothing down the field whatsoever. I'm a big Amari Cooper guy. I know you're a big Amari Cooper guy. Two catches for 16 yards, nine targets. Like, I'm sure, there's a lot of frustration there, but I have faith in Amari at least, and hopefully, they get clicking a little bit more. But
I will give them the benefit of the doubt. They were missing their two starting tackles. That
right,
makes a difference for any team. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there because it's not easy. You're down your starting tackles and Michael Parsons is on the other side. So kind of a bad matchup for really anybody there. But I don't think would it have made a difference in the scoreboard? Maybe by a touchdown. But Deshaun, yeah, Deshaun did not look good.
yeah, rough first game back for him, but yeah. So I mean, congrats to your Cowboys. I'm not gonna lie, Matt. Personally, when I saw that Vegas had, or almost all the odds makers had Dallas as an underdog. Look, I get it. Where you're in Cleveland, I get it. The Browns defense, I get well, how is CD gonna look and all this stuff, and it's a new defensive coordinator in Dallas. The defense, I just couldn't believe that they were still underdogs. I could understand if they were favored by 1.5 points or if the line was even, but when I saw that Dallas was an underdog, yeah, I that was one of the bets that when I was in Vegas, I was able to put in a little fan and fanatic parlay together. So Dolphins, Cowboys. Luckily that one hit.
Cashed in.
Yep. So luckily that one hit. But yeah, I mean, overall good win for your Cowboys, Matt. So uh pretty short one for you. I'll give you some props for that. Um,
Hey,
but
I got a long way, man. It's a
that's
long
true.
season.
It is a long season. So why
I've
don't
been
I
trying to get better from that first year because we got a lot of complaints more from me, my friends saying that you talk too much. All we hear is the ranting, the ranting. So I'm trying to be a little straight to the point now. You know, sometimes when it's really bad, I get emotional. That's when it's really like just a
oh
deep,
yeah,
dark pit.
I just brace for it on those days, so
You
don't
know,
worry.
more it's more the playoff games, you know, when we lose every year, it seems like that's when it just turns to complete shit. But I'll
That's
try to
fair.
be pretty even keel in the regular season.
Okay. Well, we'll see how I'll try to hold you to that. That's definitely not going to happen. But I appreciate you
Next week.
trying.
Oh, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
doing, Mike? What the
Okay. Well, why don't we transition over to my team, Miami Dolphins. Did get the win 20-17 in a close one against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Showdown, rematch of the national championship, Trevor Lawrence and Tua from several years ago. So, man, it was definitely a nail biter for me. It was not sweat free like your Cowboys win. I was pressing the whole time. Bunch of stuff I do want to get to here. Man, where do I even begin? First of all, I will say overall, really, really proud of the team and how they were able to pull this one out. Mike McDaniel said it in his post-game press conference, and I might agree with him to a certain extent, but he said that, no, nothing against his previous teams, but the teams of the past 2 years while he was there don't come out with that win. And I just thought that was an interesting sentiment that, he stated because, you know, the past 2 years, especially last year, oh, Miami's this front running team, right? Like they're only good in September and October. Once the weather turns cold, we know all the narratives. They can't win when it counts, yada, yada, yada. But hey, this is a big game, week one against an opponent that was in the playoffs 2 years ago, Trevor Lawrence has a playoff win, right? And this was going to be a good matchup, I think, a good first test for this Dolphins team. And I thought that, you know, being down 17-7 at the half, um, it was going to be a gut check early on in the season. You want to talk about early? I mean, first half of the first game of the season, and it's already gut check time, right? It almost feels like I told you, Matt, right? When we did our season kind of preview of our teams that, Miami needs to win early in their schedule because the second half of their schedule, it just gets tougher, right? So I predicted this as a win. I thought this was a win, similar to last year coming out against the Chargers, another team that was heralded to be, have playoff aspirations and to come out and prove something. And while the offense I thought was sloppy, especially in that first half, you know, defense didn't come out as on fire as what I would have liked. The fact that they were able to turn it around at halftime to me shows that, I do kind of agree with Mike to a certain extent that this team there's something there, right? Like they've been through it, they've experienced the pain before, having Calais Campbell, a vet in there, having guys like Tua now, who is definitely more vocal, you know, post game, they're coming out. Tyreek is coming out and saying like, Tua had this Hawaiian accent, which is basically like that means his pigeon was coming out, right? Like Tua, like the Eva Beach in him was coming out. He was getting on guys, like literally, he was calling out. He called out like players. He's calling out Tyreek. He took accountability on himself. He said, he's even going at the coaches like, hey, I need like the place to come in faster because we're getting out of the huddle too late. We need to get our everyone real. So he's going out. I mean, you want to talk about an attitude change, right, from 3 years ago. Um, he's coming out. He's able to talk to these guys, straight up, calling guys out. And who knows how much that worked, but the result kind of speaks for itself, right? To go 13 points in the second half unanswered. Shout out to the defense, by the way, who completely turned it around from that first half. Didn't allow a single point in that second half. So, man, what a good, gritty, tough win early on in the season, Matt. I actually thinking about it now that it's over, I can say that I am happier in this win than if it would have been just a complete blowout, right? Because already early on, we're seeing, okay, adversity hits this team. What are we going to do? Is this team going to crumble, or is this team going to bounce back, make winning plays, right? And come out on the other side? Because sometimes in the NFL, you got to win ugly, right? It's not always going to be your day. And the good teams, I should say the great teams find a way to win when it's not all going your way. And I thought this was a good example. Yes, it is early in the season, but big win for this Miami Dolphins team, hopefully setting the tone for the rest of the season. A couple players I did want to shout out to, Matt, real quick for my Dolphins. First of all, we got Javon Holland making the play of the game. It's 17-7 at this point in the third quarter. Jaguars are marching down the field, their best drive of the entire, second half. They're marching down the field. It's looking like it's going to be a 90+ yard touchdown drive. And as Travis Etienne is getting towards the goal line, Javon Holland comes in, punches the ball out. Hader who jumps on it. Uh, you know, Completely momentum shifting play right there. I mean, literally saving 6, 7, 8 points, and completely stifling any momentum Jacksonville had. And then for the offense to be able to come back, not only on that drive, but literally the very next play on offense, Tua to find Tyreek across the field, Tyreek to outrace two DBs, taking it 80 yards to the house. I mean, you want to talk about a momentum shifting play, Matt, right? Literally a 14-point swing in the span of two plays. So wanted to give Javon Holland some love. I am really hoping that they find the money somehow, or they're working it out with him, because he's kind of that last core piece that I would like to see signed, at least for right now. I think he's such an impact player for this defense. Really would like to see him get paid and be in Miami for the foreseeable future. So I have to shout out to him. And then also Jalen Phillips, who, I mean, we all saw him, on that Black Friday game in New York, right? He pops his Achilles. You know, one of just the cursed MetLife Stadium, right? But for him to be back playing week one, I mean, it's kind of unbelievable, right? He does it less than a year ago at this point. For him to be back in full force week one, ready to go, and then coming up with one of the other signature plays on defense, third down, Jacksonville's kind of last chance to get something going, and he comes in with the sack to force Jacksonville to punt. I just thought that was like when we needed, some pressure the most. He finds a way to get home. Hopefully, he just continues to get stronger as the season progresses, and he gets kind of the recognition that he deserves, that I thought, he was going to get last year. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy and on the field this year, because we're going to need him definitely in this first half. before Bradley Chubb comes back as well. So wanted to shout out those two guys. And yeah, just overall, really good defensive plays. Shout out to Jason Sanders, who made amends for kind of shanking that earlier kick. But yeah, I mean, really good win, Matt. I thought, it was interesting watching Miami's offense because I think they're going to have to make a lot of adjustments. I don't think this offensive line is quite up to standard just yet. I mean, just reading some
I'm gonna ask you that.
stats
You
here.
didn't bring it up.
25 rushes for 81 yards. Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. It did not look good in that first half. Luckily, as they kind of wore on, and it was time for grinded out yards in that fourth quarter. Jeff Wilson, our kind of designated power back at this point, who was in there, he was able to come through, pick up some first downs when we needed it. But yeah, it did not look pretty, Matt. And I think Mike kind of was trying to pivot. It was really, quick, short passes to the perimeter. I mean, that's kind of what we're used to with the playmakers on this team, but it was not so encouraging in that first half. I mean, they had absolutely nothing going on the ground, and I was kind of concerned because we didn't go out and address the offensive line in free agency. So,
Bless you.
oh, sorry, yeah, but they didn't address the offensive line in free agency like I was kind of hoping that they would. Um, yeah, it was just kind of a mess through that first half, but I think they kind of found their footing play calling wise, especially in that second half. I will say, I'm not going to speak too much on I don't want to say creativity or lack thereof, because they have Buffalo on Thursday already. So I don't know if that was something that they all kind of saw and they didn't. I don't know if Mike wanted to show his full hand in Jacksonville just yet. I'm not. I don't want to speculate too much on it, but I know I can guarantee you that this Miami Dolphins team, yes, okay, we're focused on week one, we're focused on the Jags, we gotta be Jags, yes. But I guarantee you they are looking at this week 2 game, prime time, against the Bills, who they should have beat last year, right, to get into the playoffs as the AFC East champion. They failed to do that. I think a lot of the returning guys are looking forward to that game on Thursday, Mike included. So I don't think they showed their full arsenal on offense. I think we're going to see him pull out all the stops for the Thursday night game. Buffalo has dominated this team for the past several years. So I'm hoping at least that Mike has some cards in the back pocket ready to whip out for Thursday. So I don't want to speak too much on the play calling itself, but I do think it is interesting to see how, maybe they're not so reliant on this offensive line, because Tua was getting the ball out quick, fast. And to speak on Tua, I thought, he played well enough. I mean, passing leader through week 1, right? Similar to what we saw last year. I think he's going to have a lot of yards. Tons of yak, of course. Got to give props to his perimeter guys. Tyreek, it was good to see. I told you, Matt, Jalen Waddle was going to be involved a lot more this year, not just spoon feeding Tyreek.
Thank you for
Yep,
fantasy purposes.
he went over 100 yards, right? I think they're going to continue to involve him a lot. And it was interesting to see Devon Achane as well, having 7 targets, 7 receptions for 76 yards. It seems like they are going to try to use him as this kind of hybrid running back, put him out wide, type of position, which is, I think, good. Essentially, he kind of like what UH should be, maybe using Tylen Hines as, I would say, right? They're kind of similar to what they bring to each respective offense. So I just think, yeah, that it was good to see Mike get creative, get Devon the ball in space, because, we could see on a couple plays, you just get the ball out to him on the perimeter. He makes one guy miss, or he has a convoy of blockers out in front, and he's going to do his thing. He's going to get 20, 30, and he's always capable of hitting the home run anytime he gets the ball in his hands. So I will say, yeah, pretty good. For the offense, there's a lot to clean up. There were some drops that I didn't like from some of the tight ends. I thought even Tua, could have been a little bit crisper in some of his reads. It is what it is. It's week one, right? But
Exactly.
yeah, overall, good game for them to come back and win. And yeah, glad to see Tua moving a little bit more as well. You can tell, I think he's getting a little bit more back to, I don't want to say quite his Alabama mobility, but he was moving. He took off, for a first down. Another one that would have been a first down got called back on a holding call. But you can definitely see the difference, I think, from this game one compared to last year, where yeah, he bulked up so he could sustain the hits, but this year you can tell he's moving a little bit more fluidly like he used to, which is encouraging to see because I think he's gonna have to create, or even it's that it's 2nd and 8. Oh, am I gonna throw the ball away or am I able to scamper for 4 yards and make it a 3rd and 4 instead of a 3rd and 8? Little things like that. I think throughout the season it's going to be huge, but I am happy with this team after week one. So with that being said, Matt, yeah, I'm pretty good on week one. Short turnaround, like I said, already got Buffalo on Thursday. I will be in Seattle, or I guess it's in Oregon, technically, watching that game. So I'll be stoked for that one. But yeah, all in all, pretty good, Matt. I know you probably don't have a ton, but is there anything you wanted to comment on this Dolphins one?
Well, I think the only concern, if I was a Dolphins fan, and you talked about it, is I don't think your offensive line was smooth sailing in this one. And I'm just wondering if going forward, is this going to be a problem for, I don't want to say better teams, but, teams with a premier pass rush? And like you said, right? You look down the road, maybe you can address it at the deadline or whatever. Things change. But I think you guys put the Niners, obviously the Jets twice, even I don't know if the Bills, but teams like that, right? Where that's kind of their strength is the D line, especially the 49ers. Are you, a little worried that, the run game wasn't as dominant as I thought Miami would be with the McDaniel scheme? Because I
I
think
mean,
that's a huge part of their offense. So you don't want Tua just dropping back 50 times and throwing it around. Like I don't want to. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not going to just scamper and create 20-yard rushes all the time. Like he can move around enough to avoid the sack or extend the play, maybe, but that can only do you so much. Like you need to develop a run game, some kind of identity. So are you worried that yeah, you got by this one, but is that going to be a concern going forward to address?
yeah, I definitely think something is gonna have to change. I think I don't want to say Patrick Paul getting injured is going to do anything because he's kind of that project at the tackle position for the future that they're hoping for. But yeah, I mean, something is going to have to change in the run game. I don't know if it's purely the offensive line. Is it we got to scheme it up? But I mean, I don't. I mean, to Mike's credit, he's kind of known for his great schemes. So I don't want to say it's on him necessarily, but it's only going to make it things harder. I'll say, like you said, if we can't establish a run game because yeah, Tua, he's great, he's accurate, he's all these things, but in a timing based, offense, like when the reads aren't there and he has to create on his own, like you said, he's not Lamar, and not a lot of people are Lamar and can just create something out of thin air. So I mean, I'm hoping that some of the run game issues get fixed, whatever that is, because I just can't imagine what this offense would have looked like if they were able to run the ball. Even for 3-4 yards a carry would have been nice, but yeah, it just wasn't too pretty. But week one, I will. I mean, they're gonna need it. I think against Buffalo, kind of wear down that defense. But we'll see. We'll see. It's a short turnaround, so opportunity for quick growth for this Dolphins front. So look forward to that one. But anyway, I'm pretty much good for my Dolphins for now, Matt. The one thing I guess I did kind of want to get to, and maybe we can both talk about it a little bit, but obviously involving Dolphins players before the game, like I'm waking up and I'm seeing like, what, Tyreek is in handcuffs? What is going on? So apparently, right, there was an incident involving Tyreek and the police pregame. He was detained, put in handcuffs by the police. Calais Campbell, steps out, tries to see and aid in the situation, find out what's going on. Johnny Smith also pulls over, tries to find out what is going on. So, first of all, I just gotta say this. So the body cam footage came out today. I don't know if you were able to catch that, but
I
I was
saw the
even
whole
saying,
thing.
yeah, I also watched it, but I'll say, before that footage even came out, I will say, I don't know what happened between Tyreek and the police officers. I'm sure there was, I didn't want to speculate as to what happened. But I will say that from Calais Campbell being in the league as long as he's had a lot of player interviews. And I've seen a bunch of Calais Campbell interviews throughout the year, and he is heralded as a locker room guy, a leader, a captain. He's very well spoken, very intelligent, and I just fail to see how he could have been aggressive or hostile enough to be put in handcuffs. Like I think I have seen enough character displays from Calais Campbell to know that he is not the type to escalate situations, to you know entice any kind of unwarranted action against him. So when I already heard that, not only Tyreek, but he is also being detained, I'm like, okay, there's something weird going on. I can see just like Tyreek's personality. I'm not saying before I saw the video, I'm like, okay, maybe he didn't do anything wrong, but he's a passionate guy, right? Maybe there's some kind of miscommunication that led to the officers, detaining him, where he felt it was unjust. They felt like Tyreek was being difficult, whatever the case may be, right? This is obviously before I saw the footage. Now, after seeing the footage, right, I saw the full clip of Tyreek's portion, him getting detained by the police. And I could see, some of the confusion, like kind of what I expected, right? Like Tyreek is voicing his concern, voicing his opinion. He rolls up the window. Okay, I can see that possibly being a problem, right? Because with all tinted windows or whatever, right? Someone rolls up the window, you don't know what they're doing as a police officer, right? For your safety. I guess, yeah, they could be reaching for a weapon, whatever it is. But he rolls the window back down. He opens the car door. They're telling him to get out. Like it looks like he's getting out of his car. And as he's like either trying to get out or getting out, they like grab him, like pull him out of the car. And then he's talking and he's like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? What do you do? Like, blah, blah, blah. They start going back and forth. Then they put him in handcuffs, right? And the part to me that was concerning the most was like they have him in the handcuffs, right? And they're telling him to sit down. He's like, okay, hold on. Because he's saying like my knee or something, right? Like he had surgery on his knee, I guess, this off season. He's saying something like that. She's like, hold on, my knee. All right, hold on. And they're like, and then he's like, no, get on the ground right now. He starts forcing him down. I was like, okay, what is he getting arrested? Is he being like, what is going on here now? I saw another instance, another angle. They're like kicking him, right? Like, I don't know if you saw that video view, but one of the officers like was kicking him to get him down on the ground. And then John was over there. He's witnessing that. He's wondering what's going on. He's trying to get a hold of the situation. The cops keep telling him to get back in the car or he's going to get arrested. Then Calais is on the other side while this is going on. They're telling him the same thing. They put him in handcuffs for just trying to find out what's going on. And so it's just a bizarre like situation. I want to say somewhat similar to the Scotty situation, right, Matt? That happened,
Shuffler.
right? No, I mean honestly, like very similar, rolling
Yeah.
up to the game, detained by the police. Oh, Scotty got arrested. Luckily Tyreek didn't get completely arrested. But he's screaming at Jonu to get Drew, who's his agent, right? Like on the phone or stay on the phone with Drew or tell Drew what's going on, something like that. But now that the whole thing's been released, yeah, probably some miscommunication. This is just how I feel, right? Some miscommunication. Tyreek was probably a little bit confused, or probably could have obeyed quicker, I guess. You could say, but to me, definitely a little bit excessive use of force, right? Like dragging him out of his car when it seems like he was getting out, and then forcing him to the ground when he's saying like he had surgery on his knee. I just the whole thing seems a little bit messy. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty jarring. And for the fact that those guys, to go through that pregame, talk about how elite these athletes are, their preparation and everything that goes in beforehand. They all have their routines, they all have, their usual things that they go through during the game. And for them to see that, go through that stuff for week one, albeit right at home, so excited to play week one, and you have to worry about getting detained by police, man. Yeah, it is tough. And I will say the other part, it was pretty, tough. Or I mean, seeing Mike McDaniel, he talked about it later on. He was getting choked up, saying like he doesn't know what that whole experience is like, right? And to be in their situation, and you could just tell he cares about his players. So I don't know what is going to be the outcome of this. I hope it. I mean, it was just an unfortunate situation, honestly, all the way around. I hope that something productive comes from all of this, right? But yeah, just an unfortunate situation. I hope, thankfully Tyreek is okay. Calais and John have seemed like they're okay. But yeah, just a really unfortunate situation for all those guys, and hopefully some kind of resolution is reached moving forward, because yeah, just didn't look too good.
I think both this whole situation, it was a little weird because I would say both parties are at fault to some degree with the whole situation. Obviously, like Tyreek, you know, was he going like you said he was going like 40 miles over the speed limit or
Yeah,
something?
so I don't know. I don't know if that ever
So
got
it's like,
confirmed or not, though,
okay,
because I
like
heard there were rumors that he was, but I saw another report say that it's not, that wasn't verified. He definitely sounds like he probably wasn't wearing his seatbelt. So Tyreek, please, I mean, where if you weren't wearing your seatbelt, bro,
click
please,
it
we
or
need you, bro. Like, please wear your seatbelt. I don't know if the speeding thing was true or not. I don't think that, I didn't see if that got confirmed, but I definitely saw the seatbelt thing as well. So whatever it was, like, bro, Tyreek, please wear your seatbelt, bro. I need you, man. Like, we need
okay,
you.
well, whether it's the seatbelt, whether it's him 40 miles over, not even on a freeway, first off, like whatever it is, we don't know the full details, but either way, he's at fault to some degree there. Actually, that is his fault. What am I talking about? And then you could say, well, yeah, like you talked about it. He didn't really cooperate as quick enough as the body cam footage showed. And then you can look to the officer side where it's like, well, okay, you got him out of the car. Now he's starting to cooperate, and then now you kind of just exert almost like brute force on him. It's like, okay, that's a little too harsh right there. Like you got him out of the car, just get him to talk, see what's going on. But like you said, right, they showed the video, either they're like kicking him down, like, okay, that's not right either. So I just think like, man, every party is at fault in this situation. I gotta say there's something wrong that each side did. And, you know, I don't think Tyreek is. He doesn't seem like he's doing anything. He's not doing anything bad, but he did break the law or whatever. So there has to be some kind of consequence, I would think. But even for the officers, you can't just you're a police officer. You can't just exert yourself like that onto a civilian. So I just think that hopefully this thing clears up And for your team's sake, I just hope it's not something that just lingers on. It's like a Rashid Rice thing where it's like just see what if something happens in the future, like you just don't know what's gonna happen. So I hope there's some kind of closure that's quick and you know, it's fair for both parties, involved. But just yeah, as a fan, selfishly as a fan, you're just praying that Tyreek is not like suspended or anything like that. So that's my take. I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but I think both parties are at fault to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens from this, but yeah, I mean, I'm
You
just
just don't want
glad
it
that
to be a lingering thing
yeah,
throughout the season,
I just
for
hope
the
that they're able
Dolphins.
to get this resolved. Whatever the case, because I can see that the police are going to say that Tyreek wasn't being cooperative. I do also think though it was a little bit. I mean, I think it was excessive. Some of the actions that they took, more so like
Yeah,
especially like the forcing him like to like it's one thing getting him out of the car, but it was another thing when you already have him detained, in handcuffs on the sidewalk, and then I swear there's an angle of like one of the officers like kicking and then
yeah.
forcing him to the ground. Like,
That was on the main one, right? The
yeah,
main
right. Like,
camera.
and I'm like, what are we
Yeah,
doing here? Like, we're gonna like, and then they, in the earlier in the video too, they said, you know who that is, right? Like, that's Tyreek Hill. That's one of the Miami Dolphins players. Like, you can hear that audio in the body cam footage. So I don't know if that made a difference or whatnot or whatever was going on. Either way, just an unfortunate situation. I hope it gets resolved. Um, in a way that is you know helps all parties or provides some kind of resolution to the situation. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, man. Yeah, free Tyreek, man. He just speeding. He speeds all the time, man.
it's just
He's just a fast guy. That's all I'm gonna say.
these wide receivers and speeding, man. What that seems to be the common thread in the trend
No,
in the NFL.
no, but seriously, I mean, I think I want to wait because I learned my lesson like with the whole Shohei thing. I started speaking on stuff that I got mixed up on. So I'll let the reporters do the reporting on the actual incident. And I just like I said, hope that some kind of resolution is reached for all parties. So anyway, we can finally move on from that stuff. Sorry, that went kind of long, but I did want to say um before we end some NFL stuff, Matt. A lot. Obviously, week one it is the time to overreact in the NFL because we've had all off season to speculate. All teams are trying to make a Super Bowl push. Unfortunately, they're not all going to get there. But after week one, I feel like that's the perfect time to overreact to a lot of these teams, right? Because a lot of changes happened. So I'm gonna give you five teams, Matt, and they're five losers. So all teams that maybe tried to go through some kind of changes during the offseason or had some promise going into this season, but all took L's in week one. So I'm gonna exclude, I'll say Cincinnati, because we know that they always suck, period, at the beginning of the season. I don't know what it is, but they just lose or almost lose in the beginning of the season. So I'm this is their breakfast ball, their typical breakfast ball, right? So I'll give Cincy a pass for now. If they continue to lose, that's another thing I guess we'll bring up. But for now, I'll exclude Cincinnati. So I'll give you five teams, Matt. If you could just rank yours in order, one being the most concerned, five being the least concerned. So I'll give you the Falcons, the Packers, the Browns, the Jets, and the Giants.
Oh man. Okay. Number five. I'm gonna go with the Jets. I mean, I think they deserve a pass here. Aaron Rodgers, first game back from tearing the Achilles. They're on the road at San Fran, who was in the Super Bowl, and you could make the case should have won last year's Super Bowl. So they have the continuity, they have the structure. it was going to be a daunting task for them to go in and, upset the 49ers, I thought. But the team, you look top to bottom, pretty talented roster overall. They have weapons at each skill position. Obviously, defense, they're loaded as well. Really, the only thing that they're missing for the past years is the quarterback. And I don't think they need Aaron Rodgers to be 2021, 2022 MVP Aaron Rodgers. Like, you just got to be a game manager, really. If you got to be superhero, maybe a couple games a year, yeah, put us on your back. But other than that, you got a good defense. I would think Brees Hall is going to have a pretty good year if he stays healthy. Him and Garrett Wilson, I think, going to be, I don't want to say him and Devontae like, but to some degree, I would hope to see something like that mid to especially end of the season when it's a winning time. So I think they'll be okay. I'm not going to panic yet. Um, give Aaron Rodgers a few games to really get back into it. Um, Number four, tough one. I guess I would say, hmm, I guess I would say the Falcons for this one, in my opinion. I don't want to say the sky's falling, but similar to Aaron Rodgers, starting Kirk Cousins, coming off a serious injury. They play the Steelers. Yes, they lost to Justin Fields, but Steelers defense is pretty good. They've always been pretty good under Mike Tomlin. No matter what, they always win ugly. Probably gonna go 9-8 this year. Not even looking at their schedule, and they're first place in the NFC North, in the daunted NFC North somehow after 1 week. But I think Kirk Cousins will be fine. He's like Aaron Rodgers. Give him some time. Let him develop the chemistry with Drake London. He's got Bijan Robinson. The Falcons kind of stacked up defensively too, with acquiring Matthew Judon. I think who's it? They got Justin Simmons too, right? So they have pieces. Terrell is on the outside corner, so I like what they have there. And they're in the NFC South. Let's keep that into perspective. If they can win the division, if you win the division, you get into the playoffs. The Buccaneers did look pretty good, but it was the Commanders. But I think it's going to be a tight race to the end with both of those teams. So just being in that division, you have the Saints. We don't really know yet, and then obviously everyone's probably going to beat up on the Panthers. So you have a chance to stack up some wins, I think, in that division eventually. So I don't think it's an overreaction there. Now it starts to get interesting, I think. Number three, I guess I would say the Packers for now, because I don't think Jordan Love is going to be hurt for that long, I guess. Um, Maybe the division might be tough now because, I would think the Lions are going to be tough all the way if they're healthy. So, kind of giving them, a couple games to kind of stretch out, get ahead, maybe not in sights for them, but can they, be a wild card, maybe get into the playoffs? Yeah, absolutely. I think this team is still talented enough to compete and get into the playoffs late in the season. Number two, this is close, and I guess I'll go by what we expected, meaning fans, media. I'll put the Giants at number two because I don't think anybody had realistic expectations for them to do anything really, but pretty concerning to the point where you're at home and you get destroyed by Minnesota, a team that was just ridiculed with injuries in the offseason, lost their starting, well, you could say future starting quarterback in JJ McCarthy. And Sam Darnold is cooking up, something crazy against you. Like, come on. It's the Giants, but that's what we kind of expect with the Giants. So I'll give them that. They're not the worst because I think the team that's in trouble is the Browns. And maybe it's because I watched that game, with Dallas, beat down that happened. But in that division itself, not even conference, just that division, you have Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. You're gonna have to have good quarterback play to come out of that division just to survive. And oh, let's not forget Pittsburgh. Somehow they always win with mediocre quarterback play and go nine. They win ugly. Cleveland, can you do that? Today was your chance, or I should say yesterday was your chance. And it was not pretty. And I think Deshaun Watson, maybe outside of Daniel Jones and Bryce Young, probably looked the worst, in all the quarterbacks in the NFL that played. So if you don't get that position right, you're not going to win the NFL. And I think that's a huge problem because I think their division is going to be tough. And, luckily the Bengals and the Ravens lost. So they're kind of even. But man, if Deshaun looks like this every game, I don't know how. Maybe you win 4 games. I don't know, or maybe you got to go to Jameis. That's going to be the solution. But you can't play like that. That's inexcusable to me for a team that everybody was picking to beat Dallas for the most part. That was favored to beat Dallas, and now the narrative just switched. So I think the Browns are the team that's in trouble the most after week 1.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say my list isn't, overall too different um from what you presented. But I mean, Jets, yeah, I'll agree. They play the Niners, in the Bay. That's a tough place to play, even without Christian McCaffrey. But Rodgers' first game, with game speed reps with this offense, yeah, I'll give him some time, right? Still made a few typical Aaron Rodgers throws where I'm just shaking my head like, oh yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers. Especially that one to Lazard he had up the sideline. I'm just like, oh, it's a typical Rodgers throw right there. They'll probably be fine and figure things out eventually. Um, we'll say the lack of their run game was a little bit concerning, but yeah, overall, I think
The
you know,
Niners defense is good
yeah,
at the run.
yeah, that defense is good. So not gonna stress too much there. I already forgot your order, but yeah, I have actually Packers at 4. Um,
Okay,
the
you flipped
only reason is I'm looking at their schedule for the next, assuming 4 games, right? Um, even with Malik Willis, I do think that they probably can go 2-2 over their next 4 games if Jordan Love is gonna miss a month, which is probably what it sounds like, right? So they got the Colts, and then they got the Titans, Vikings, and Rams. Luckily, they have the Vikings at home, and that'll be Malik Willis's 3rd game at that point. Um, I think they probably lose to the Colts. I think they can beat the Titans. I mean, just the Titans just did not look great, right? But I think they can beat the Titans. I think they can beat the Vikings at home. And I think they lose to the Rams. So hopefully, they can go 2-2. They'll be sitting at 2-3, which is not the end of their season, especially in the NFC, right? They still got a lot of season left. So that's why I just had them at 4. The reason I had the Falcons at 3, Matt, I mean, I'm going, maybe this is overreacting, but you want to talk about start, like not the best start for the front office and their QB controversy, right? We go to signing Kirk Cousins, 4 years. He's going to be the guy. And then the surprise move to draft Michael Penix, already an older guy. What is Atlanta doing? We're not sure. And then Kirk comes out and, just doesn't have a great game with Drake London, with Kyle Pitts. They brought in a couple other guys, Darnell Mooney, guys that what is his name? Ray McLeod, I think, also came
McLeod.
over. So, kind of look to revamp this offense. And they still got Bijan, but just didn't look good. To your point, it is the Steelers, right? Mike Tomlin is gonna have a good defense, but to me, it's just because of everything that happened in the offseason and Kirk to have, not a great game at home week 1 in front of the home fans too, right? It's like, oh boy, like Yeah, not a good look. But like you said, weaker division, quote unquote. I don't know. The Bucks might be good again, but that's probably the team they're gonna have to look out for the most. Like you said, we don't know what the Saints are just yet. I mean, they played the Panthers, so we'll see there. And I actually have the Browns at 2, Matt, because I mean, Kevin Stefanski, he's somehow figured this thing out year after year. As of late, they are going to get Nick Chubb back. Yeah, he might not be the complete Nick Chubb again, but they will be better. Um, Even if Deshaun doesn't pan out, Stefanski has shown he can go plug in a Joe Flacco and this team will take off, right? So as long as that defense is still going to do their thing, I know they didn't have the best showing week 1 against your Cowboys. Maybe the Cowboys are just that good, but they didn't have the best showing. I still like the players that they have at all 3 levels on their defense, and I think they have the guys. I think they will be okay, but they're probably going to be competing more than likely for that wild card spot. But hey, right now Steelers are 1-0, leading the division, so who knows, right? Yeah, we'll check back in about 17 weeks, but that leaves me at the Giants for number 1, Matt. I mean, I'm sorry, but like Joe Shane, I watch Hard Knocks, right, for that front office portion. It looked all real fine and dandy. We're gonna roll with Daniel Jones. We're gonna do this. We're not gonna grab the lineman. We're gonna grab Malik Neighbors, who I think is gonna be a good
It
player,
looks
and
good. It looks good.
I think he looks good. I think he has that make to be a number 1 receiver in this league. But man, after everything, you sign him. Oh, granted, that's not Joe Shane's guy, right? But you sign him and you get the Minnesota Vikings, who are coming off of what is expected to be almost a rebuild. I don't want to say throwaway year, but they're in the midst of a rebuild, right? Sam Darnold is their QB1 for this year. After you lose JJ McCarthy, not high expectations at all, right? And the Vikings come into your building and do that to you. Where also Daniel Jones, 2 picks, like one of them for a pick six. It just was not pretty at all. That is just not what you want to see, I think, out of something that there was already so much question marks. Like, should they take a quarterback? Should they take linemen? Okay, we're gonna take Neighbors. Okay, but I mean, Daniel Jones, man, I feel like this is kind of his prove it year. Because I think if he doesn't produce or if he continues to produce the way he does, I should say, yeah, his days are definitely numbered in New York. So that's why I got the Giants at number 1, especially because realistically, like they're not going to be competing for the division. So if they're gonna try to get into the playoffs as a wild card team, they've got to start stacking some wins because it's not going to get easier for them in division playing the Eagles and the Cowboys. We'll see how the Commanders are, but just unfortunate. Like all the media that got into the Giants, front office this offseason, it just doesn't help, I think, honestly, right? Like, oh, who are we gonna take? What are we gonna do? Who's it gonna be? Okay, it's gonna be Neighbors. We're gonna stick with Daniel Jones. And this is what Daniel Jones is looking like in week 1. It's just like, oh my gosh. Like it is hard to be a GM in the NFL. I could never do it. I give my props to those guys, man, because yeah, it is tough to make calls like that. Especially like, and you want to talk about Saquon, right? Saquon walks and has 3 touchdowns in his first game to your division rivals, right? So it's kind of like all this stuff. They had no run game. I mean, 21 carries for 74 yards. Devin Singletary's RB1. I mean, Devin Singletary is solid, right? But I mean, 10 carries for 37 yards. That's not going to be pretty. Not the worst it could be, but not exactly flashing either. So just kind of the hard knocks didn't help. I'll just say that the hard knocks did not
Bro,
help the look at all.
that
So
makes it funnier as a Dallas fan. It's like,
yeah,
now
it's
the world can see.
yeah, it's just unfortunate. One bright spot I will point out, because he's not exactly going to be on my spotlight this week. But shout out to Darius Muasau, man. He had 6 total tackles, 4 solo, 1 tackle for loss, and a pick. So how about a debut for Darius, huh? Props to him. Got to give him a shout out there. So yeah, not good in the Giants land. It's just not going to get easier, Matt. Like they better beat the Commanders, because after the Commanders, their schedule is tough. They got the Browns, Cowboys, Seahawks, Bengals, Eagles, Steelers. Like they gotta beat the Commanders, because if they
Hey,
don't beat the
I'll be
Commanders,
cheering for them against the Commanders. I will admit that.
it's gonna be tough.
I will be cheering for them.
So anyway, that's our kind of list of concern. We'll be talking about more teams next week. It won't be we're gonna come up with a different topic for next week, but yeah, at least for week one, you know, I think that's pretty good. Probably get to a lot of the rookies later as well. So I think we're okay, Matt. For NFL talk, we can probably wrap that one up. But sticking on college football, we have to get to our UH team that we didn't get to talk about. But I mean, they had a bye, so we're still talking about their most previous game on TV against UCLA. I told you they were going to cover. Didn't think they'd have a chance to win the game, but I was on the flight, Matt, so I didn't get to catch the whole thing. You were watching the whole time. Why don't you give me your kind of breakdown, overall thoughts and opinions on that one?
Well, pretty ugly game, really. Both teams not did not look great. But I will say it was encouraging for UH to start fast. You go into the half up 10-0. You would think pretty good, but there was just a little bit that could have been just a little bit better, and that probably was the difference in the game, I think. Obviously, the first half they score a touchdown, kind of a I don't want to say a fake punt because I don't know what UCLA was doing because nobody rushed the punter. They all just turned and ran. So great read. He just took off and run, on a fourth down stop. So they moved the chains, and then a few plays later, Shager finds Ashlop in the end zone, 7-0. So it's a fast start. But then the ugly, it started to get a little ugly offensively from there. Shager, didn't have a great game by any means. Um, but I think the one thing that was, and I brought it up, earlier, UCLA, they turned the ball over. You know, Hawaii has a chance. They're like inside the 20, so in the red zone, chance to get a 14-0 lead into half, but can't convert. And I thought, man, that one kind of hurt because our offense was struggling. Our defense played great, by the way. I think we have something going on defense, not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, just disappointing that we couldn't get into the end zone, with the struggling offense, couldn't cash in with the short field. And then it was just kind of a grit and grind, just kind of UCLA, they're gonna come back, as you expect, right? First year head coach, I don't think he's just gonna quit, after one bad half. But give credit to UCLA's quarterback, Ethan Garbers. I thought kind of settled down a little bit in the second half. Used his legs, was, much more efficient throwing the ball, and that helped their offense a little bit. They scored 16 points. But really, um, it comes down to the end, I think. I don't know, you're probably in the air still, but UCLA, right? The field goal, up three. We got like a minute to go. This is like, okay, this is Shager's time to, like he's got the spotlight. Let's go get maybe not a game winning drive, but at least get into field goal range, go into overtime at home. You gotta like your chances there, I think. That was probably one of the the worst last minute drives you could have had. And it was just more the execution, and the lack of football knowledge of the situation. So UH has no timeouts. No timeouts. It's a second down play. Shager gets sacked, holds onto the ball too long. It just looks like, you get sacked and you have no timeouts. You would think there would be a little sense of urgency, from the offense. Yeah, the receivers, they're running the route, they got to come back. It just didn't look like they were like hustling, like to get back and get set. So time is just tick, 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 tick. And then third down, I'm thinking, okay, it's third and a mile. Let's get, half of it back here, get out of bounds. Maybe you get lucky, get past the chains, but you got to throw this to the sidelines, I think, and try to get out of bounds. That's where you got to go. What does Hawaii do? Let's throw it short of the sticks in the middle of the field. Classic, right? And the clock, keep in mind, the clock is still running, so there's like 10 seconds left. And that was just the end of the game. It's like those two plays, you got to know the situation, Shaker. Like, I'm sorry, but like, you can't take a sack in that situation and put yourself behind the chains. And then, oh, by the way, you rub salt in the wound by throwing in the middle of the field short of the sticks with no timeouts. So, that's just game right there. And then, they fumbled the ball in the last play, right? Trying to just hook and ladder it. So I just thought it was just not it was just an ugly way to finish the game, I think. And to Hawaii's credit, I don't know if we are in that many situations where it's like we got a chance to go win the game. And they had a chance last season, actually, from what I remember, and we were watching this game. It was that crazy Matthew Shipley one where they didn't know the clock stopped. But it's like, that's the same thing. It's like, what the heck is going on? Why is it so chaotic late in the game? It just seems like we're not prepared to be in those kind of situations. So that's the only thing that really stood out for me was that late game execution because we had a chance to win. That's what hurts the most, I think. But we got to bring it up. Tylen Hines, he at least, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. At least we saw a little bit of trying to get him the ball on the outside. I think he had 3 or 4 catches in the game. All came kind of early. So they kind of got to him early and then he just kind of disappears after that. So maybe Timmy Chang listened to the podcast. He was like, all right, you guys stop complaining. Here's the touches. And then
Right,
after
that's
that,
gotta be it.
it's just it's non-existent. But in a serious note, it's like, I think, I'm going to stand by him. I still think we can use him at running back because our running game stinks. It stinks. Like Lyman Sims, I'm sorry, like maybe he can be a backup complimentary running back, but he cannot be a starting running back in Division 1 football. It just like, bro, 7 carries for 9 yards. That's not good. That's not good. I'm sorry. So that's really the things that really stood out for me. The offense, man, it was just ugly, and I think they need to clean that up because maybe, just maybe, they might have something on defense. I don't know. Jemai Otis, right, had a pretty strong start to the season. Logan Taylor, gets the interception this game. So, I like to see, our linebackers being active. Our corners look not bad right now. Kobe Turner and Cam Stone, they look decent. And then Monema back there, physical safety. I think he's going to have a pretty good year. So, they're solid defensively. It's just the offense. Just you got to give us something, man. You got to give us something. It wasn't pretty against what was that team? Delaware State, and then even UCLA. It just doesn't look good. And we always talk about this too when teams are struggling. I don't know what you see, when you're watching at the airport, but there's not that much motion, right? There's no like help Shager out a little bit, get guys in motion, get them easy throws, but it's like we don't have that. I think they need to. I don't know if that's not the run and shoot way, but I think that needs to be incorporated a little bit more in this offense to give Shager some kind of read, whether it's man, whether it's zone, what kind of look he has with the blitz. So a lot of things Hawaii needs to clean up, and I think good thing they had a bye week, honestly, playing in week 0, so they get a bye week to kind of freshen things up because I don't know. Sam Houston State, I think they're going to be pretty tough. They're going to be pretty tough. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting on the road. I will say that.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the offense is going to need to show something different, or at least a better performance execution wise, scheme wise, and yeah, just overall, like some kind of juice, right? Like we had a couple big plays, but outside of kind of the Ashlock touchdown, there wasn't a lot of those wild plays on offense that you would expect, especially out of the run and shoot, right? Like you want to see
Yeah.
uh the yards, but at
You want
home
to
it
see Yak, the
want
deep
to see
balls
Yak.
again.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just not looking great right now. So yeah, Sam Houston State, I mean, they're favored by 4.5. I'd say that's right now. I mean, that's probably pretty accurate, but who knows? Maybe UH will show us something, give us some hope. Because yeah, it's just unfortunate to have that UCLA game kind of slip through their fingers. But I'm with you on the defense, though, Matt. I thought that the defense overall, has played pretty well. So hopefully that theme continues on throughout the season, right? Um, so I think, yeah, that's it for UH. I did see you wanted to get to a little bit of Oregon and Boise State. So we did watch that one together. It was a nail biter. Thankfully, Dylan Gabriel and Oregon was able to pull that one out. I mean,
thank God.
thanks to their special teams though, as well. But man, Boise State, they're gonna be good. I think they're probably gonna run the Mountain West. Um, but yeah, Matt, your kind of overall take on that one.
Ugly, ugly. And I'll go back a week before. We didn't do a podcast, the Labor Day weekend, but they did. That was when college football, in essence, kicked off, right? Week one. They're like scrapping and clawing with Idaho. Like, what's going on, guys? Like, I don't know what it is this year with this team, but on paper, they're so talented. They're so talented. They can match up on paper against the best of the best. But something is just not it's not clicking. Um, against Idaho, I'll go back. Not really the defense, but it was the offense. Dylan Gabriel probably had the most deceiving stat line. You look at his stats, it's like, holy cow, he lit it up. But Oregon only had 24 points in the game. And I think that comes back to coaching too. I think Dan Lanning, they go for it. They're like, oh, they missed like three or four fourth down conversions. So leading points off the table potentially. So, just got to be smarter in those situations, I think. Um, and then obviously, we can get to the Boise game. Oof, like it was kind of hard to watch at times. I hate when teams just gash you on the ground. And to Boise's credit, they got an absolute stud at running back, Ashton Genty. I would think he's going to go to the NFL draft after this season. Probably going to be one of the top running backs to be drafted. I told you that. I was like, hey, him and Dak could be pretty good,
Oh
going
yeah,
in
that
next year.
he's a stud.
Yeah, no, like the breakaway speed, the power, his ability to catch passes out of the back, like that's a that's a three down back in the NFL right there. So, I'm already looking for Dallas. Like, hey, you can get him second, third round, maybe. I don't know. Would be a pretty good spot right there. But with that being said, if he's your offense, wouldn't you kind of stack the box, do something to take that away? But, to his credit, he's just a freaking beast, you know. But a little bit disappointed in the corners. I thought, Dante Manning and Jamar Muhammad, not what I expected so far through two games. Jabbar Muhammad, especially, was the guy. He comes over from Washington, was the star corner on that, runner-up team for the national championship, and it just hasn't translated. He's getting beaten coverage. Um, hasn't had that impact, that lockdown corner impact. So, I'm just not seeing enough from the defense there. But offensively, man, just something isn't right offensively, I think. And special teams is a huge part of why we won this game. and almost lost, guess you could say. You get a kickoff return, punt return by Tez Johnson, and then the game-winning kick by Sackington, but he also misses an extra point, which in college is no, you can't do that. I'm sorry, but that's the Oregon problem that has been going on for years and years and years. But I guess I want to get to Gabriel a little bit. I mean, he's the Hawaii boy, right? You want to cheer for those guys, and I really hope he does well. But something isn't right. I just doesn't seem right. I mean, I don't know what it is. Um, but maybe I was spoiled, the past couple of years with Bo as the quarterback. But Bo Nix, and I was telling everybody this at Sakai, it's like he was the perfect quarterback for Oregon in that system. He was so like it just was so smooth. He just ran it to perfection. And I think with Dylan, and to his credit, new into the system, it's just not as quick. The decisions aren't as quick, I think. In him getting the ball out, deciding to run, the sacks are coming too often. But to his defense, the line isn't as strong. It's a rebuilding line. So I don't know, man. It's just after 2 games, I'm a little concerned. I'm happy that they're undefeated. They control their own destiny. We all know that with the tough Big Ten. But yeah, I'm not like, wow, this team can win the national championship. I don't see it right now. Can they make the playoffs? Yes, but they want to make a run this year, and they got to clean some things up, especially offensively. I think because that's where we were supposed to be high flying is offensively. There's so many weapons that they can use, and it just hasn't clicked yet. So I'm hoping against Oregon State, there's something that sparks this team. Maybe it's the rivalry game. I don't know, but I need to see some explosive plays offensively going forward.
Yeah. Well, he's our best shot, I think, at seeing a Hawaii guy right now in the playoffs. So I'll be cheering for Oregon, right? Like you said, it is early, so I'll give him a little bit of slack. But yeah, I do think that it's good they haven't played, these ranked opponents just yet, because I do think, like what you were saying, they got a lot to clean up. And yeah, they can't have a stinker against Oregon State because that rivalry is still going to be there. Oregon State's going to be fired up and ready to go. They love to play spoiler to the Ducks, so we'll see. They got to be ready for that game in Corvallis. It's going to be a good one, but yeah, hopefully this is a good wake up call for the Ducks. So okay, I think we're going to be good for college football, Matt. A few topics
Made it
left
to
here that we want to get to. So baseball, we'll check in as usual with your Yankees. How we doing? How you feeling?
well, today it kind of made me feel a little better. Jason Dominguez, after like months of speculating when he's gonna come up, he's finally here. They say he's gonna play every day. I'm hoping that's true because you don't call up your number one prospect and tell him sit on the bench. That makes no sense. He's got to be in there, left field, center field every day, whatever it is. Get his bat, get his glove in the lineup, and keep him there. And maybe just do that with the rest of the guys that are playing well. Aaron Boone, just stop with this whole analytics bullshit because it doesn't cut it at this point. The guy, which guys are going to be your guys that you're going to trust come postseason time. Get them in the lineup, and you're in a division race that's going down to the wire, to the last games. Every game count. You can't be messing around. Off day here. Two guys gonna get off days on this day. Like, nah. Like, if they can play, they're gonna play. I'm not saying they have to play every single game. Like, you're gonna manage it accordingly, but you can't just put out a punt lineup, every 2-3 games. Like, that's just not gonna cut it. So, Austin Wells, Giancarlo Stanton, Dominguez, right? You keep those guys in the game. Give them the Juan Soto, Aaron Judge treatment. Keep them in the game unless they're hurt, unless they tell you, I need a day, I'm not feeling good. Keep them in the lineup. Um, and the bullpen, I think, is another thing that's been a concern. Clay Holmes last week had a awful, awful save attempt, blows another save, finally gets removed from the permanent closer role. Now it's kind of like closer by committee. Um, Kind of been giving the edge to Luke Weaver, who's a favorite of mine. Do I think he's a top-notch closer in this league? No, but he's one of the better guys we got, and a guy that I think has that kind of closer mentality. He's not afraid to challenge anybody. You got need a guy like that, I think. And he has a little more swing and miss in him. He's not no like Michael Kopech, who I think we should have freaking got the trade deadline. But he's not a power pitcher, but he's got a little better swing and miss stuff than Clay. Clay is more of a contact pitcher, get ground balls. He can still be effective. I just don't think he's a closer type. He's good high leverage reliever. Not really a guy I want shutting it down with a run lead in the ninth. So I'm glad that's finally addressed. But Nestor coming out, he's unhappy. He was moved to the bullpen, but he came in and shoved, piggybacking Clark Schmidt. So maybe that's a role for him that we can use going forward, obviously. So, now it's just more about I just need Aaron Boone to really step up. I really just need Aaron Boone to step up because if he plays our guys, I think we can win the division. We got a game and a half lead out as of today. So we just got to keep that lead, get that little cushion. So when you play Baltimore for that 3-game series at the end of the season, you don't have to sweep them, right? Maybe you just need to win 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3 at the most to win the division. So, as ugly as it is, we're right there. But we just need consistency going forward with the lineups. So please, Aaron Boone, don't mess this up for us. We're so close. We're so close.
Yeah. I mean, Yankees, they're hanging in there. So
We're hanging in there, but it's not like we could easily be 5, 6 games up in this division and have a little more cushion. I just don't like the way that lineup has been handled the past 3 months.
well, still have one of the best records in baseball, so you're still surviving. You're still in there.
At least we'll probably be in the dance this year. Thank goodness. That
Yeah.
was not what I expected last year. I didn't know how to feel it myself.
Well, yeah, you'll be fine. Quick
So
note on my Dodgers. Like I said, I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but they had a pretty tough gauntlet that they were going to go through. Kind of came out the end of that, pretty good. Helped you guys out. We had a series win against the Orioles. I thought the biggest series was we took 3 out of 4 in Arizona. That was huge. I think that helped boost this team a lot. And we even took 2 out of 3 against the Guardians. It was at home, but still, that's a good team, playoff team. And we've been in a lot of the games today. It was a tough one. Walker Buehler out there, he got roughed up. I just got to say, I'm glad Yoshinobu is coming back tomorrow because the starting pitching has been the biggest thing. Like who is going to be that last starter in this rotation? It's looking like right now. I mean, now Gavin Stone is on the IL. It's just been, it's been tough. I mean, we still got Glass now out. Only now Yamamoto's coming back. Kershaw now is on the IL. So, I mean, in a perfect world, in the playoffs, if we have all of our guys healthy, I just would like to see Glass now, Yamamoto, Flaherty, and if we're going for, it's got to be Stone at this point. Walker, Bobby, Clayton, they just haven't shown enough, I think, in the regular season. So I think it's going to be Gavin Stone at that fourth spot. But man, thank goodness for Alex Friedman and Gomes in the front office because I think excuse me, the moves at the deadline have been huge. Michael Kopech, who you highlighted, has been great for us in the bullpen. Also, the pickup of man, Tommy Edman has been huge for us, providing a bat and plus defense at multiple positions. Just been a lifesaver for this team. And then, yeah, it's just been really good to have these guys kind of clicking and rolling again. I feel really good with how we're looking. Mookie is, picking up right where he left off before he got hurt. So happy to see that progress there. I think Will Smith is kind of just that last piece of the puzzle if he can get back on track. I really like where this team is headed in the playoffs. So, yeah, just health is the number one concern right now. Hopefully, we're healthy and we can secure either the 1 or 2 seed, and have some kind of home field advantage at some point during the playoffs. So, I'll leave it at that, though, Matt. Don't got to get too much into it for me, but why don't we round it out? Started late, so it's getting late for us. Why don't you give us our foolish fool?
Ooh, foolish fool. With the NFL season starting, we'll keep it NFL themed, I guess. But I gotta go at Brandon Beane and Joe Sheen. So for those of you that don't know, that's the GMs for the Buffalo Bills and the New York Football Giants. Buffalo Bills, I don't know what it is with you guys, but just stop trading with Kansas City. I would think you guys would have learned your lesson with the whole Patrick Mahomes thing, but they trade away. I'm not saying Keon Coleman is going to be bad, but just to give Kansas City basically Xavier Worthy, it's like, that's not what you want there. That's like Tyreek 2.0 coming. So you just doom the rest of the league. So thanks a lot. Um, and then the Giants, man, we talked about them. Um, you know, I don't understand, man. They keep Daniel Jones. Saquon does good. Just a disaster of a start. So I think the roster, the organization needs a reset for this one. So that's my foolish fools for the week 1 of the NFL season.
Okay. A couple of my fan tributes. So first one, Dennis Thurman, the new DC of the Hawaii football team. I like we already talked about the defense looking better. I think they're playing with uh, you know, good aggression, controlled aggression so far. Just like to see those guys flying around. They have been the highlight of this team throughout these 2 games. I thought maybe it was a little fluky, going up against Delaware State that first game. They're an FCS team traveling cross country. Yeah, okay. But to put on a showing like that, yeah, UCLA didn't look great, but to still, hold them to 16 points. I thought that was a great display from that defense. So shout out to Dennis. Hopefully he can keep that defense rolling throughout the season. And yeah, hey, if we have a top defense, that's great. So shout out to him. And then the other one I did want to highlight, I didn't get to him in the Miami Dolphins segment because I wanted to get to him in my fan tribute. I'm going to shout out Alec Ingold, our fullback. He has been, a key guy for us the past several years, really one of the leaders in the locker room. But more importantly, Matt, 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, Miami was last place in converting last season. It just has not been good. They haven't had a fix, and it looks like Alec Ingold, our fullback, is going to be that fix. Picked up 2 huge, 3rd and 1s on Sunday, helped us convert there. So wanted to give him a shout out because he doesn't always get a lot of love. But Alec, I know how important you are to our Miami Dolphins team, and that offense, just the team in general, though. But yeah, wanted to give him a nice little shout out there. So wanted to give him a
Okay.
shout out. Okay. Other than that, Matt, I'm pretty much good. Why don't you run us out with our sports fact?
All right. We're recording this September 9th. Sorry. we'll go back to 2021, where quarterback Tom Brady became the first NFL player to start 300 regular season games. And he defeated my Dallas Cowboys on his ring night, 31-29. And that was the return of Dak Prescott, too. So shout out, Tom. All these longevity awards probably going to be your name on it. And I don't know. Hopefully your awards last for another 5 years because Patrick Mahomes is coming. But that is our sports fact. I think that's the end of the podcast for this
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. It was much harder for this week to get this one rolling. Hopefully we'll be back with, it'll be smoother next week. Who knows? Because I mean, actually, I think I'll be back home by then. So hopefully it'll be a lot smoother next week. Anyway, yeah, as usual, guys, we appreciate you guys sticking it out with us to the end here. We will be back next week, week 3, season 4. So as usual, guys, take care, stay safe, have a good one. We'll see you next week. Cut.
Cut.
All right. Jesus Christ. Oh,
all right.
Oh my God. I got my allergies and my cough. I'm dying over here. You're on struggling internet on your phone. Oh man. Why do we stress ourselves out for this stupid show? Our stupid show, we get I don't even know how many viewers, but you know what? Whatever. It is what it is.